Ian Castleberry, good Monday, and welcome back, man.
Thank you. Thank you.
How
Good to be back.
How was that week off? It was basically like a decompression week.
It was It was a mental health, I guess we would call it. Mental health week.
God,
so just right before football season starts, I didn't take any time off this summer, so I thought, get that last weekend before it gets crazy here, football season.
Yeah, I hear you on that, man. Well, again,
and baseball with playoffs. Yeah.
I know, right? I mean, it's Ian time. That's what we call it here on the show. And of course, Ian's appearance is presented by Happy Hill Restaurant, feeding Asheville since 1967. Well, Ian, the Astros and the A's become the first teams to mandate vaccinations for non-playing employees. Do you see more teams following their lead here?
Absolutely. Those two teams mandating all non-playing full-time employees, but, those employees, they could interact with players, if they're front office or their marketing, et cetera. And it's not just baseball. I mean, other sports are doing this too. Several NBA and NHL teams. We're seeing this in the NFL. I think more Major League Baseball teams will follow. And we're seeing this throughout the workplace, throughout the culture, that employers and companies are mandating that their employees get vaccinated before returning to the office, returning to the workplace. And I know some people feel that their personal freedoms are being violated or that they don't want to get vaccinated. But this is a public health issue. It's not necessarily a personal choice issue anymore when you're talking about an entire workplace and talking about man hours and so forth being lost, breakouts within an office or a workplace. So a Major League Baseball team, especially off the field, isn't that much different from any other business.
Yeah, that's a really good point to bring up, by the way. And I think as COVID and the Delta variant continues to just kind of roll right through, and especially just eating up unvaccinated people, that I think more teams are going to be heading in this direction. I don't think they're going to have a choice if things are not pulling back a little bit. But good on the Astros and the A's. It's a start for sure. Boy, now we got to go to this, Ian Castleberry. Trevor Bauer's case has been forwarded by police to the LADA's office. That happened last week. Major League Baseball also extended Bauer's leave of absence. And Ian, you said a few weeks back that you did not see Bauer pitching in the majors again. These latest developments, are you still sticking to that position?
He's definitely not going to pitch again this season. He's not going to pitch for the Dodgers. I wouldn't be surprised if the Dodgers end up releasing him after the season. A lot of this will depend on whether the LA County District Attorney brings charges against Bauer. But even if they don't, Major League Baseball and the Dodgers, they are waiting to see what the LA County District Attorney does, and then they're going to act in kind with that. But baseball could still suspend Trevor Bauer even if there are no charges filed. We have seen that with some players, get suspended for violating domestic violence policy, even though no charges were pressed. Maybe the person that was involved decided not to press charges and so forth. But I don't think the Dodgers want anything to do with Trevor Bauer anymore. And I think a lot of Major League Baseball teams are going to feel the same way. The public relations backlash is not going to be worth it to sign a player who has documented there is proof. The woman who accused Trevor Bauer of this, now she was denied a permanent restraining order because the judge said Bauer didn't pose an immediate threat to her. But Bauer has never denied that he did these things to this woman. His argument is that it was consensual, and apparently this judge with the restraining order agreed somewhat. But you're talking about somebody who has effectively beat up a woman. And I don't know how many Major League Baseball teams are going to want that or want to deal with that backlash by signing Trevor Bauer.
Yeah, I mean, you laid out, and it'll be interesting. Again, you got to wait to see what the DA says on this one. But yeah, if they come out in favor of the victim, yeah, I don't see. Yeah, I think he's a hot potato, and I think if the Dodgers don't touch him, I got to wonder if other teams are even going to bother with this. And I think to your point, weeks back, I think too, it's going to be. Look, everyone's got a home, right? You can have issues off the field if you're talented. there's going to be a team out there that will grab you. But when it comes these days to sexual assault, and in Trevor Bauer's case, what was going on there, really kinky, crazy stuff. And, he just didn't hear the word no. And this is why he's here and maybe facing banishment from Major League Baseball. We'll keep up on this. But I'm with you on this. I don't see how he's going to be back in the major leagues, but you always leave that little window open when you got that kind of talent. As Ian Castleberry joins the Wise Guys, of course, our Major League Baseball update presented by Happy Hill Restaurant. Ian, of course, writes for awfulannouncing.com. You can also follow Ian at thecomeback.com, like both on Facebook, by the way, and does radio hits as well, including the Wise Guys here each and every week. All right, so Ian, not a good couple of days for the Mets. First, Javier Baez, recently traded by the Cubbies to the Mets. He gives Mets fans a thumbs down during a celebration. He hit a home run. And Ian, why the gesture by Baez, and why is Mets management not supporting him and his mates on this?
Javier Baez and some of the other New York Mets, notably Francisco Lindor and Kevin Pillar, every time they did something well on Sunday, like you mentioned, Javier Baez hit a home run. He crossed home plate, and then he gestured to the fans with thumbs down. And Baez was saying this was his way of letting the fans know how it feels, to be booed for, when they're out there trying hard or giving a good effort. And I think one of his quotes was, they got to be better. Now, Baez and Pilar especially insist they were just having fun amongst themselves with the thumbs down. But it makes Baez and these Mets players look extremely thin-skinned. I mean, first of all, you're playing in New York. If you don't think you're going to hear it, when you had a 2.5 game lead at the beginning of August, and now you are behind 7.5 games in the NL East. I mean, they've just collapsed. They've been 16-27 so far in the second half of the season, 8-19 in August. The Mets fans are ticked off, and they should be. Their team is not playing well, and they have every right to voice that as fans, as ticket holders. As long as you're not doing, throwing stuff on the field or saying stuff that's, racial slurs or anything like that, you have a right to boo. And the Mets players, they seem awfully thin-skinned by responding this way.
And I'll take the opposite on this. And my first thought was, boy, real rich for Mets fans to be offended. New York fans are among the most annoying and obnoxious on the planet. I hear your point on that, but to me, I'm thinking, Baez didn't flip in the bird or anything like that. He was just making a point, like, hey, man, I'm doing the best I can here. And, this is not helping us. Booing is not helping us. And I get that. What bothers me the most is that general manager Mets president Sandy Alderson came out and just basically blasted his players. And I thought that was a little bit harsh for him to do that. But that's just me. What's your take on that?
I think it was a little bit of a panic move or an attempt to control the narrative, saying, these gestures and the comments after the game, were totally unacceptable and will not be tolerated. Players are people too. The fans have a right to boo, and the players have a right to react. Baez himself said they're not robots. Now, within reason, if they're not flipping off or making other obscene gestures at the fans or throwing things, throwing gloves or whatever at the fans, they have a right to respond to that sort of reception as well. I mean, it looks bad. It looks like you can get under a player's skin quite easily. But, to do that after hitting a home run, I think it's pretty natural for Baez to kind of, we could all think of other gestures he could have made instead. And the thumbs down seems pretty benign.
Yeah, I mean, and again, this is not good for the Mets. And when I say it's not good for the Mets, but wait, there's more. It's like a bad infomercial at 3 a.m. Noah Syndergaard, of course, he had Tommy John surgery. He's looking to make his way back with the Mets, one of their best pitchers. And, of course, that's not happening right now after Tommy John surgery. Why is his return for minor league pitching been delayed, Ian?
First of all, let me say I'm glad this is radio, not video, because I was making some of those obscene gestures.
Were you flipping me off?
Acting out as an example. But Noah Syndergaard, yeah, he was scheduled for a rehab start, coming back from Tommy John surgery. The Mets hope he can join them for the end of the season and a possible playoff drive still, even though they're falling further behind in the NL East. But Noah Syndergaard tested positive for COVID-19. And as a result, he was scratched from his rehab start. When he will be able to pitch has yet to be determined, depending on whether Syndergaard shows symptoms and so forth. It's too late in the season for Syndergaard to contribute as a starter, and the Mets know that. There's just not enough time to build up the workload and the stamina that a starter would need, to go even 4-5 innings, late in the season or even in the postseason. But Noah Syndergaard would be a heck of an arm to bring out of the bullpen if he was available, but this is obviously a setback.
Indeed it is, as if the Mets need any more bad news. That's why they're called at times the New York Mess. They're certainly living up to it as Ian Castleberry plays with the Wise Guys. All right, Ian, you said a few months back the Giants are the real deal and would win the National League West Division. I thought that was a pretty bold statement for the time, considering the Dodgers are, the Dodgers. But here we are, so far so good. But do you still say, with L.A. just 2.5 games behind the G-Men, San Francisco still takes the West?
2.5 game lead. I am going to lean toward the Dodgers' talent on this. We talked about them not having Trevor Bauer available for the rest of the season. So what do the Dodgers do? They go out and get Max Scherzer. They add Trey Turner. How many other teams could add, an ace starter, a starting shortstop to their roster? Turner can play other positions as well. The Giants aren't going to go away. And if you look at their remaining schedules, the Dodgers' schedule is a little bit tougher in terms of playing teams that are either going to make the playoffs or in the playoff race. They have 3 versus the Braves, 3 at the Giants. That's going to be a big series in early September. 4 at the Cardinals, 6 against the Padres. Now, the Padres are the team that is a major disappointment.
Yeah.
They are fighting for their playoff lives. The Giants, they might not win the NL West. Maybe the Dodgers will overtake them, but they're still going to make the playoffs. They are solidly in good position for a wild card spot. But the Padres are really fighting right now with the Cincinnati Reds, who have also come on late in the season. The Padres have kind of plummeted here. So those are games that the Padres are going to be desperate to win. 6 against the Dodgers. They have 7 against the Giants. But I do think the Dodgers will eventually overtake them. I mean, you got to believe in their talent. I know they're missing some guys right now, especially Mookie Betts, but their depth is so outstanding. Their talent's just overwhelming. The Giants will still make the playoffs, but I don't think they're going to win the NL West.
All right, so it's how this goes. You got to check in every once in a while. We're in the dog days of Major League Baseball, coming down to the final month of the season. And Ian, real quick, I was reading where it looks like the World Series, if it goes to a Game 7, would be the latest World Series in terms of the season, which would run us into early November, like November 7th or something like that. Did you hear about that?
I haven't seen that, but I mean, the schedule certainly has been working toward that. Especially, you try to fit all these games in, and we've been getting later and later into October, and I'm sure baseball is kind of moving things around, maybe spacing out games, trying to avoid conflicts with football and so forth. So if you're Major League Baseball, maybe you want to see teams that play in warmer weather or indoor facilities. But I don't think anybody really wants to see a Game 7 of the World Series played in outdoor November conditions if it's on the East Coast.
Yeah, no kidding, right? Now, if the Dodgers are in it, it's going to be nice and sunny and in the 70s. But, then you get back to New York and the East. Yeah, you're right. It could be a mess. Well, at least, but that's always fun to watch. I love to see players overcome these conditions. Ian Castleberry's awesome as always. We appreciate you, my friend. Great to have you back.
All right. Thanks, Pat.
You bet, buddy. Thank you, Ian. That's Ian Castleberry on the D.C. Creasman Jewelers Wise Lines. Hey, thanks to Mike Lawrence and the staff at Happy Hill Restaurant.